back.
Oh, yeah.
Anterior is in front. So we are viewing the anterior portion, okay? Now this is a cow eye, okay? Specifically it is longhorn. That's irrelevant, but okay. If you notice, and I'll move this so you guys can see this. Can you see the opening where depends on how the light hits it. You see like an iridescent sheen to it in the opening portion through the pupil.
What opening portion? I don't like
You
the way
see
it
like an
sounds.
iridescent sheen through there. Maybe a
It's
little
gonna
bit.
fall.
Can you see that?
Is it hard?
Let me do it like this.
Can you squeeze it really hard?
Okay, do you see that now?
Yeah.
Look at the cow eye.
You can see like it's like a
Yeah.
hole.
And you notice that
Close my eyes.
a lot of animals, cows
Looks
included,
normal
you
now.
see that now? Maybe it's a little easier to see this way.
eyes.
It kind of has a reflective, it's a kind of reflector type look to it. You see the reflector part? Okay, we're gonna take a look at the structure that does that. Now, in human eyes don't do this, okay? So there's a structure in this that doesn't exist in the human eye, but we'll talk about why that is. So if you shine a light, and this is your dog, your cat, most animals, if you shine a light in their face at night, you're going to see that reflector
Yeah, what is?
mechanism. It helps them to see at night.
Oh, that's why at
Okay.
nighttime in your
Yeah,
driving
so-
car you see like that.
Animals.
It's mostly in nocturnal animals. Okay, so you're going to see that mostly in nocturnal animals. Now you notice there's a lot of it's lost a little bit of
It like goes in when you.
yeah. When I put a little pressure to it, you can see. Now what is this structure on the outside here?
The
cornea. That's the cornea. Now you see how when I do this, it kind of deflates a little bit. Okay, so it may have lost a little bit of the aqueous humor in there, because otherwise that should stay. And it may not be here. It may be in here that it's lost a little bit of liquid. The aqueous and vitreous humor is what helps keep the shape of the eyeball. Okay. Well, I got it at a meat processing plant.
You just asked them for an
I just asked them for an eyeball. They butchered this yesterday, so this is very, very fresh. Now you notice there's a lot of this this fatty and connective tissue around here. You see this fatty and connective tissue? Okay. That is kind of what helps when we are, this exists in a bony socket. So this helps, yeah, we're going to look at that too. This helps kind of cushion and fill that space. On this back side, they've cut these pretty close. They didn't leave much muscle, but you can see the certain eye muscles. These are the extrinsic muscles here. How many are there? It's supposed to be.
4.
Keep going.
8.
No, 6. Remember, we have one in the top, one in the bottom, for this movement here. So we've got 2 for this movement here, and then 2 for this movement, and then we've got one that's oblique, right? So it'll attach but go around on both sides. So we've got the oblique one. All right, so you're seeing some of those muscles here. So I can identify some of them here. Looks okay. You can see how this is where it attaches back here. See how those attach back there? That's where they attach. So we could probably locate most of those by doing so.
What's that little ball right there? It looks like it's hard.
This right here?
Yeah,
That's
that.
what I was getting ready to point out. Okay, so anybody want to guess what this here is?
Is that what connects to the...
May know what this is? It's the optic nerve. Okay, that is your optic nerve. So it's very tough, but yeah, you see how that's.
What do we write for that?
You don't have to write anything. This is just any notes you want to if you want to remember anything. Now, this is in the exact posterior portion, okay? So here's the anterior, the optic nerve is right behind it in the very back portion. Okay. So what we're going to do, because we don't need all this extra material over here, we're going to cut away. And this is very tough, because this is very fresh, and so I can't even hardly poke this through here. It's so tough. I'm just gonna.
Skizzers.
Well, that's what I'm gonna do. But I wanted to get a puncture started so I can do this.
You okay? Yeah.
So I'm just gonna cut away some of this material first.
You should put this eyeball in Pablo.
We're having surgery right now.
So we should put in the skeleton.
And it's gonna take a little bit for me to do this because, again, this is very tough. It's not the easiest to cut through. And I wanna make sure I don't damage anything, so I gotta keep.
Do we have like all that tissue like inside
Mhm.
our?
Yeah, you have all this tissue. This is the fatty tissue and connective tissue. It protects the eye, okay, and it also, it's the muscles as well, so it helps for movement.
It just like looks like
It's just like trimming the fat.
This makes me want to be a surgeon.
Yeah.
I just don't want to go to college for that.
Yeah.
Too much.
You have to be mean to be a surgeon.
Well, if I was a surgeon, I'd probably have much sharper instruments, right? They have really sharp instruments. I'm just gonna kind of put that aside.
Why is it sticking?
Because it's getting a little bit dried out, which is why it's doing this, okay? All right. So, let me see if I can, I don't know if I need to cut this or not. I want to get rid of it.
Oh.
So you're gonna actually like cut into the eyeball?
Yes, we're gonna cut into the eyeball. So now you can definitely see this optic nerve that's sticking out here, okay? So, you notice it's not too bloody, okay? There's not a whole lot of blood involved in here. We really don't get into much of it either. There's not gonna be much
blood in your eye.
Hmm?
There's not a lot of blood. in your eye?
There is, but you know, that blood's probably already drained out,
Mm-hmm.
okay? All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm going to try and do this where I don't damage this, but I'm gonna cut just right behind this lens structure. I'm gonna cut right behind there, and I'm gonna cut this in half, okay? So we're gonna take a look at the inside. So let me see if I can, this is a very tough, the sclera is a very tough, okay? And we're gonna take a look at all the layers here. So it may take me a little bit to get even a puncture through here, because this is a very tough layer. So try and do this where it's not gonna. It's about as tough as, well, it's tougher than plastic. So I'm just gonna try and,
You can hear it.
yeah.
That's like.
Yeah, it's like almost tough as leather. It really is tough. Yeah, the sclera. Yeah.
Start poking
There we
my
go.
eyeball. It's
Okay.
yawning.
Now, when I cut through here, of course, what is inside the eye that keeps the shape?
The fluid.
Yeah, the fluid. So you're gonna see fluid come out. What do we call that fluid?
Vitreous humor.
The aqueous humor and the vitreous humor, okay? So there's, sticking here. There's a watery portion and then more of a jelly portion. So the jelly portion is actually the vitreous humor. The aqueous portion is more liquid, okay? They're both clear. Okay, so now it's getting to a point where it's hard to keep it. So I'm going to use the scissors to finish this. So I'm going to try not to damage anything in the process. Don't want to damage the internal structures.
Are you gonna put this video on YouTube?
I don't know if I'll put it on YouTube, but
We should.
I want to have it available for students that weren't able to be here.
So you're just cutting off the sclera? Or you're cutting like the eyeball?
I'm cutting through the sclera and all the other layers. What I'm doing is I'm cutting it in half so that I can separate the anterior portion from the posterior portion. So we're going to look at the anterior structures here in just a moment. So we'll look at the posterior structures and the anterior structures separately. sticking to my,
Well, I got the,
okay.
well,
All right,
Whoa.
okay.
that's wrong.
So this is the anterior portion here. Okay. And this here is the anterior. This is posterior, this
That's
is anterior.
gooey.
Yeah, see how this, it's got a big, like a jelly sac? Okay, that is the vitreous humor. Okay, that is your vitreous humor. I'm gonna see if I can kind of remove some of that away. It's pretty thick.
So this is what's behind our eyes.
Mm-hmm. This is what's inside the eye. This is what helps our eyeball maintain its shape. So see how jelly-like that is. Okay, and I'm trying to separate it without damaging anything. So see if I'm successful or not. Y'all are getting ready to go to lunch, right?
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully I didn't
That's my
damage that.
appetite.
Sorry. Let's see.
That's so weird. Like it's just clear fluid in our eye.
Yeah.
Is
Now,
it like salty, like a
there
saline?
there's a fair amount of potassium in this fluid, definitely. Okay, you guys see another clear structure in there?
Yeah. What is that?
What do you think that is?
Lens.
Yes. So the lens, remember, is behind the cornea, and the iris.
How well do cows see?
They see pretty good at night. I don't think they have that great of day vision. I mean,
do they see in color? Do you know?
That's when I've always heard that they don't see color, that they're colorblind.
Other than like red.
I mean, they may see colors, but they're colorblind as far as, you know, they're not able to see all color. And we would know that because what retinal structures are responsible for color?
The cones.
The cones, right. So, you know, that's how they would determine that, is just by the cones that are that are present. Okay, so we'll get to that in just a moment. I want to focus for just a second on this back structure here. So this is the posterior portion right here, okay? You notice that inside here you see this iridescent sheen, okay? See that iridescent sheen? Okay, that is what's called the tapetum, and that is not present in humans, okay? That is only something you would see in nocturnal animals. So remember we talked about how you can shine a light in, say, your dog's eyes, and you would see this kind of an iridescent glow in the dark, so to speak, or the sheen, reflection, I should say, reflectiveness in the dark. That is where it's coming from. What it does, it reflects the light, and so it helps them at nighttime to be able to see better because it makes more use of the light that is coming in. It reflects it, and they can see a little better. Now, it's not real. I'm trying to hold this. Okay. But do you see this little milky colored thing here, this little structure here? You see this? See that right there? I'm moving it around. Okay. That is your retina. Okay. It's very, very thin. Your retina is extremely thin, but you see there's some blood vessels in this one. You can see the blood vessels in there. Okay. Now, your retina is really not attached inside here. I mean, as far as it's not attached to the walls. As you can see, I can move this very easily. You see that? See how easily I'm moving that? However, there is one place that it is attached. And like if I'm moving this around, you can see it's not coming off in this one particular area. You see that? See there? Like it's kind of attached in this one little area right there, okay? So where that's attached, that is called your optic disc, okay? And your optic disc is where all the axon endings are attached. Okay, oops, there I'm getting some of the retina out of there. Okay, still got a little bit of retina back here. This part that's attached. Those are attached to, that's called the optic disc. Now, if you look on the very opposite side of that, what's on the exact opposite side of this? What's the structure? Yeah, so it's attached right there. It goes right to your optic nerve. So on this spot right here, this optic disc, no light can get in, or it doesn't perceive light. That is your blind spot. Okay, that's where your retina attaches. So if somebody has a detached retina, okay. Oh, speaking of, the retina does line this cavity here, but what holds it in place, because it's not attached otherwise, is the vitreous humor. Okay, so that's another function of your vitreous humor. It kind of holds your retina in place. Okay, but you see how easily that can be moved. Okay, but this is where it really attaches back here to the optic nerve. Now, if that detaches completely, you don't have a way for your nerve signals to be transmitted to the brain. That is the passageway right there.
So
Okay.
if it detaches, you go blind?
You can go blind. Now, you can have partial detachment, you know, and lose some field of vision. But if you get full detachment, you know, yes.
Can I see that in like x-rays or something?
Not in an, I don't know that they would be in an x-ray.
What would you even have to do to detach your retina?
Yeah.
Probably some kind of traumatic head injury, I would imagine. But I don't know, that's a good question. That is a good question. Now, see this darker area right here that's not iridescent? Okay, anybody want to take a guess as to what that is? Then we have that, this darker area. What is that called? What's the innermost portion of the eye? What's the innermost layer? And you can see I can detach that. No. Hmm? The choroid, okay? And this choroid, you see how dark it is in color? Okay, it's dark because it is very rich in blood vessels, okay? And so it is going to appear dark, and you see how it's kind of a, they say it's actually more of like a violet color, okay? Here it appears almost black, but it's really kind of a violet color. And that actually has something to do with how light is, you know, reflected inside the eyeball. It needs to be a dark color in order for the light to be done correctly in our eye. Okay, so then if I pull that back, which is what I'm doing here, this here is really a white layer, but it's stained right now because of this choroid layer that I'm pulling back. But what is this tough white?
Sclera.
That's your sclera. It is extremely tough. It is like leather tough. I mean, I was having a hard time poking through it, piercing through it. It took a little effort for me to get through there, but it's very tough. All right, so that's the posterior. Let's take a look at the anterior portion. I'm going to try and do this without disturbing this too much. Can you pull me off a piece of paper towel? Let me soak up some of this. Thank you. Okay. Let's see if I can remove some of this without damaging. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do, if I don't damage anything, is I want to try to see if we can get to what's called the ciliary body, and maybe if we're really lucky we might be able to see or view some of the suspensory ligaments. They're very difficult to see. You can well guess that that this is our lens right here. If I were to pop that lens out, and I'm not going to do it right now because I'm trying to get to some of our
Is
other-
that where that aqueous humor is?
Yeah, you've got some aqueous humor in here, but you also still have some vitreous humor. Remember, the difference between the two is one's watery and one's gel-like.
Which one's water?
The aqueous humor is the watery portion,
Oh, 'cause like.
and the vitreous humor is going to be more gel-like. Think of vitreous in grapes on a vine, and what a grape is kind of more like a gel, right?
And then aqueous. is
Aqueous
water.
is water, right? Okay, let's see here. Try not to damage this, because I did it on the last period, so hopefully. Okay, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get just behind the iris here. So you know, you probably recognize this black portion as the iris. Okay, I'm starting to see it a little bit here.
Is that like the line?
Yeah, you see these, I don't know how well this is
Like
gonna pick up on the, okay, but you see these striations here? I don't know if you
Oh,
can see
yeah.
that. You see the striations right in here? Okay, those are your ciliary body, okay? Those are what the suspensory ligaments are going to attach to. And they just provide as an anchor. They're just an anchor. So let me see if I can possibly, I may have damaged that side. If this lens is still attached, do you see any strings coming off this lens by any chance? Okay. I may have already damaged them. I was trying not to. Okay. If there was little bitty string-like structures, those would be the suspensory ligaments. And maybe because this is fresh, I'm not able to do it for some reason. If this was a preserved specimen, it might be a little more dried out and they might not be quite as delicate. Okay, but this here in my hand is this is the actual lens, okay? This is very soft, very pliable. I could squeeze this with my fingers and destroy it, so it's very,
Kind of want you to.
but you see how, you see how clear this is. See how clear that is? Now, it's not like full, like a liquid. I mean, it's not like I could poke it and the liquid would come out. This is like layers and layers of just clear tissue, okay? So if you were to cut through it, you would probably see layers much like an onion. So it's just
In that?
concentric layers. Yeah, in here. But you can't really, I mean, it'd be hard to see because it's very, very clear. I mean, if I took a slice through there and put it under a microscope, you would see the tissue layers would be pretty much like an onion. It's not like a sac filled with fluid. But like most people think it's a sac filled with fluid. It's really not. It's solid. It's a very solid piece. And I was really hoping we'd see some of those ligaments on there, and I don't know that we're going to be able to see them or not. I was trying not to damage too much. Okay. So you would have basically, you did see, okay, you did see these striations, so that is your ciliary body, okay? That's the anchor. You see those? Can you see those striations, those lines? I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Okay, so at least we were able to see the ciliary body. We couldn't see the ligaments, but I've got a video, we can see those in the video, unless there's any that are still here. Okay, and then right behind that is, what is this other structure back here called? What's this black structure? What's the black structure called?
The iris.
The iris, yeah. So in a cow eye, you notice that this is like an oval shape. For whatever reason, it's more oval shape in a cow, but for human, that would be, ours is round, okay? So what are the two types of muscle in the iris? Which one causes it to constrict and close up?
The radial.
Nope, it's not the radial one.
That's awesome.
Okay. So the one that causes it to contract around, this is the sphincter pupillae. Okay, so it's going to cause it to go this way. The ones that are going to cause it to go, dilate are going to be the dilator pupillae. Okay, so the sphincter one's going to be more round, and then these are the radial ones are going to cause them to dilate. Oh, there we go. All right, so then what we have left, then what is this? What is this layer here? The outside layer? Cornea. Okay, so, yeah. So you're going to have some aqueous humor there as well, okay? It had obviously lost a little bit of aqueous humor, but you're doing really good, Elizabeth. I'm so proud of you. Okay. So, did we cover everything on there yet? Did I miss anything?
What is this?
The tapetum? Okay, so the tapetum we talked about, but it's that iridescent portion. Now, that's not in humans, so those are only in nocturnal animals. So you might want to note that the tapetum is the iridescent reflecting layer. And it's only in nocturnal animals. All right. Did we get everything else? Okay. So, yeah, definitely this is the pupil here in the center. Okay, it's just the opening. That's all that is. And then we've got the iris around it. Okay. It's a pretty simple structure. Okay. Stop.